Live.
Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast, sponsored by Higher Echelon, a trusted partner in organizational excellence. Higher Echelon is run by Joe Ross. He's former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, and former Army officer. Thanks, Joe Ross and Higher Echelon, for sponsoring this podcast. Big guest on tonight, James Nachtigal, joins the Black Knight Nation podcast. James, this is your second time on here.
Oh, yeah.
First time you were on there with your buddy Cole Masick. This time you get the floor to your own. Thanks for hopping on.
Absolutely. Appreciate having me.
No problem. Usually we start the podcast off with like your journey to West Point and how you got started. And I thought, if I'm going back on recruiting, did Army recruit you as a wide receiver, or did Army recruit you kind of as an athlete coming into West Point?
Honestly, I don't really even know. When I first got recruited by them, it was – who was the coach before Monken? What was his name? I can't remember. It's
Was it Ellerson?
Ellerson, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got recruited by him, and I think within that month, he ended up getting fired or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And so Tucker Waugh was the one who was in contact with me. And obviously he stayed there, and he's still there. And so when Monken era started, they started recruiting me too. And so, yeah, they were looking at me as defense and offense. Kind of was up in the air of like what I wanted to do, I guess, more so. And I wanted to play linebacker, so I was all for it. So, yeah, that decision was easy. But, yeah, so I ended up getting recruited by the first staff, and then Monken decided that he still wanted me to come play there too. So it worked out well. But, yeah, wanted to play linebacker for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you're at prep, is that what you're playing at prep or no?
Yeah. I played. Well, it was more of a debate of being a inside backer versus outside backer. I think our defense in high school, I think I played outside, but it was like a weird defense, so it differed. And then I went to prep, and I thought I was going to play outside. Then we needed an inside backer, so I got put on inside. And then when I started when I actually got to the academy, I was outside for the first 2 years. And then once again, we needed like more depth at middle.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Do you want to come play middle linebacker?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, if I got a shot at playing, of course."
Yeah.
Plus, I think it's a little more fun. You get to do a little bit more stuff. So yeah, and then I switched to middle like it was like spring ball of sophomore year or something like that, which kicked off junior year. Started at middle, and then that was that from there on out.
Yeah, no doubt. When you're I guess when you're being recruited, right? You're coming from Wisconsin. Do you know anything about West Point going in, or they have to kind of like the recruiting coaches give you like a little bit of an education on West Point, so to speak?
Yeah, they definitely had to educate me a little bit. I was not small town Wisconsin. You don't learn a lot about the academies, but no, they when they had first reached out, my coach pulled me out of class. He's like, "Hey, Army's here to talk to you." I'm like, "Well, I'm not joining the Army. I'm going to play football." And he's like, no, like the school Army. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I talked to them when they were there, and then my dad and my little brother, who's actually at West Point right now, they're history buffs through and through. Just every day they'd watch the History Channel. So my dad was fired up when I told him that, and then he of course gives me a full class on what West Point is and all the history behind it. And I started doing all the Googling after that, but I kind of knew about it, but not to the extent obviously that I do now. So yeah, I had to get a little bit educated when that time came for sure.
Did you have any other schools looking at you? I mean, was Army like your choice, your number one choice, or did you have any other options, or where you wanted to go, or?
Well, I was trying to go to Wisconsin. That was the big one. They started recruiting me. I don't remember who the coach was. It was another situation of a coaching change. But they started recruiting me when I was a sophomore, and then the head coach left. They got a new head coach who didn't like in-state guys, and so that was like still I was still kind of grandfathered into the recruiting process, I guess. So I got a lot of free games out of it, which was great because Madison's only 45 minutes away from me. So that was a blast. I'd just go there on Saturdays and watch football. But I was hoping to play there, and I could have probably walked on, if anything, but no scholarship. I was looking at NIU. Northern Illinois was a big one. They were good that year. I think it was my senior year, so that was a big one. And then there was like a couple. I think the Dakotas. There's a couple schools in the Dakotas, South Dakota State or South Dakota.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one. North Dakota. And yeah, just a bunch of random, like small D2 schools would reach out to. So, but yeah, Army was the main one. And realistically, I was like, I'm not going to go there at first. And then I went to the school for a visit, and I was like, all right, I'll go there. I gotta. It's too cool.
What do you think, kind of, when you went on your visit? What do you think was the kind of some deciding what you saw? Did it look like kind of a D1 type, the weight rooms and the facilities? Did it look like a D1?
Yeah, the weight, shout out to Coach Swanson. The weight room is a huge seller. I love the weight room. And it's just so big. I mean, I'm out in Colorado now, so I am a big outdoors guy. I love nature. I love the mountains. I love any of that, hunting, fishing, all that stuff. And so when I went out there, it was beautiful. You can't argue that West Point's probably the most beautiful campus in the United States. And I mean, I was just sold on that alone. I was like, this place is ridiculous, because I mean, obviously, going in there, you're going to have tough days, but having a bad day looking at the mountains is a lot better than having a bad day looking at cornfields. So, I was all for that, and then just the opportunities that come with it, the education. Obviously, nothing against NIU, but West Point's got a little more leverage when it comes to a degree than Northern Illinois University. So that was a big one for me, just because I knew that. I mean, my parents are pretty smart people, and they emphasize that a lot. That you gotta get your degree, get yourself, and not everything can be about football. And then obviously the Army lifestyle that came with it, which turn of events. Obviously, I didn't end up in the Army, but I was all for that. It was being a lieutenant in the Army would be a cool thing. So I was all for it, and camera fell. Just didn't work out. But I just honestly liked everything about it, and then made the decision pretty hastily.
If you're watching this or listening to us right now, if you have any comments or questions for James or I, please feel free to share them, send them our way. We had Ali Villanueva on a couple weeks ago, and he was saying how his favorite part about West Point was fishing in the Lusk Reservoir. Yeah, that was kind of caught me a little bit. I mean, his favorite part of everything about West Point. Did you get a chance to do any of that kind of stuff up there or no?
I did a couple times. I was just scrambling the whole time I was at West Point, so I never had time to structure myself and do things like that too much. But we go fish every so often. A couple times I had some buddies that would do it, and I unfortunately never had a pole or anything up there, so I didn't do it frequently. Although hindsight, that probably would have been a good stress reliever on the weekends. But I mean, I'd say my favorite thing about West Point is just the people. You meet so many good people. I mean, as with like me and Cole, or kind of my group of friends there, like we're all still phenomenal friends, and we went through the stuff together, and it brings you closer, and it's just embracing the suck with the boys. I think is a really fun thing in hindsight. Gets a lot of memories for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it does. There are going to be some times where you need that kind of like somebody to go to, right? Or somebody to push you through. And it's just like, you see a lot of stuff that's happening now with the transfer portal, right? With Army. And is it happening or is it not happening? Guys making decisions. I mean, talking to Steven Anderson and Kel Walker, I mean, they had times where they thought, I want to get out of here too. And I'm sure that's, I mean, I'm sure that maybe even that was you at one point, maybe, who knows?
Well, yeah, there's so many times that you think you're just like, especially finals week was always the big one. You start building up your backup plan. Unless, you're an academic guru, which I was not. I passed my classes and did okay, but I was never, I wasn't
Yeah.
a 4.0 student by any means. And so, yeah, after finals week was always a big one of, we'd all take our tests and we just go sit in a room together and be like, all right, well, where do we go when we fail all these classes? And what are we going to do? What's next? And then, you get your grades back and you're fine. And, but yeah, that was always a big one for me was I didn't have any issues with behavior or whatever where, I didn't, the lifestyle of like getting your hair cut, shaving in the morning, showing up to formation. All my fears were based on academics, unfortunately. But
yeah, I mean, sometimes I look at like the Army Navy game, right? And when it seems like sometimes finals would roll around the week, not the week of Army Navy, right? Did you ever take a final during the week? You did?
I don't think it was the week of, because what is it? Is it the first or second week of December that Army Navy is?
It's usually second.
Second, yeah.
It depends where December rolls around. It's usually anywhere between the 8th or the 12th, 8th, 13th, somewhere in between.
I think our finals were always a week after because we had issues with that with the bowl games because all of our we played the same bowl like 3 times basically, and it was always what, the December like 17, 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there before Christmas.
Yeah, and we always had issues because our finals lined up that week, if I remember right.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it seems like now, like we said, transfer portals happening, and like Steve and Kel were talking about. I mean, you kind of find out real quick about West Point right when you first get there at freshman, right? Freshman, it's kind of the awakening, right, to see if it's the right fit. And each maybe semester you get through, it could go one way or the other.
Oh yeah.
And then right, I mean, it just seems like sometimes it's not just obviously it's about football, but not all about football there, obviously, right? So I mean, I don't know what your opinion is of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have it there be all about football. Like, there's no way to survive if that's your mindset. You have to embrace the other side of the coin, which is the West Point thing. And obviously you have to, just from, that's the reason you're there, and you have to keep that in the back of your head, and you have to accept that at some point. Some people do, some people don't, but like you said, the people that don't are usually the people that fizzle out at some point or another. Whether that's the first week or the last week, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you got, obviously all the guys there that go play football, we love football. That's what we do. But you have to have that other portion of you that also, nobody loves their time at West Point, I don't think, even though some people say they do, but nobody loves that part. But you have to embrace it, and you have to accept it, and be all for it, because if you're not all in, like, it's tough to last, basically.
Yeah. You think Ken Brinson loved his time at West Point?
I think Kenny loves everything. I miss him. He's just, I was just talking about him. I was talking to Tim the other day, and we were talking about Kenny Brinson. He's just like, I've never met anybody like him. Kenny's the most positive, happy guy ever. And now he's studying to cure cancer at Stanford or something. Who knows?
It's crazy, right? I mean, James, just think about it. Your linebacker room from the freshman year to your senior year, just the guys that were in there, right? Holy cow. Oh, yeah. I mean, Tim King, Ackerman, yourself, yeah. Christians. Brinson. Well, you guys, the linebacker room was separated inside and outside, or now?
Yeah. They were right next to each other. Outside backers were, I don't know what the room was called. And then inside backers were in a different room, but
just the linebacking core in general, right? Holy. And when King and Tim graduate, people are wondering, Army fans are wondering what's going to happen, right? And then you're able to like step in and with Cole and just like not miss a beat. Is that just kind of what do you think that was a result of? Was that just waiting to turn and just being prepared, or was that kind of taken from what the older guys, a little bit from them too, or?
I think a lot of it is taking. You understand that you have to wait your turn, and because obviously everybody that goes to play college football was probably a pretty good high school player, and you're confident, and you're like, oh, I'm going to come to whatever school and start, um, and that's almost rarely the case, but yeah, you get put in a position where you're like, okay, well, I'm not the hot shot anymore, and I gotta eat my words a little bit, and then you learn from guys like Tim Finake, who are phenomenal at football, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, like your chance is up, and you got to take advantage of it. And then I think the waiting your turn thing is like prime example of John Radigan, right? Like
Yeah.
goes and plays one. I mean, he started what 1 year, his senior year, and was unbelievable. And then now he's on the Seahawks. Like,
Yeah.
It's great to have that. Play 3 years and not get your shot, and then you finally get your shot, and it's the epitome of like making the most of it. Yeah,
I
I'd say a
think
lot of it is that.
I
That
think it's
mindset.
with Radigan and Cole already in the league, right? And I think that if
Mm-hmm.
people give Eric Smith a shot, I think that Eric Smith. I don't know what your opinion is. I think Eric Smith should at least get a rookie camp invite if he wants
Oh,
to
for
take it.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, God, right? I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, he's done everything to deserve it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I would say from an NFL recruiting standpoint, like, why would you not give him a chance?
yeah.
He's done everything, and he's proven everything, and let the guy go play ball and see if you like him or not.
Yeah, I don't know with Eric. I don't know if that's what he wants to do. I have never
Mm-hmm.
had the conversation with him because he also is, I know academics is important to him and maybe serving in like a guy like Bryce Holland, right? A guy
Yep.
like Bryce Holland just wanted basically, he was ready to go into the army after,
Yeah.
he graduated. He wasn't going to pursue the
Yeah.
NFL. So I don't know. So here we got a comment from Joseph Cockrell here. Pleasure watching you play. One of the single greatest performances at 2018 Armed Forces Bowl, man. We talked about that
Appreciate
last
that.
time you were on, man.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I enjoyed that game. It was hard not to.
I remember talking to Kelvin Hopkins about that game, and he said that you might have had Houston like on their heels from the get go. Did you see that right away when you guys
I
started that game, or?
I I think they came in definitely expecting to just kind of have their way with us, which again, like a lot of schools do, because historically, Army hasn't been a nationally ranked team, and we had 10 years or so of whatever a losing schedule or a losing record. Um, and I think we're getting to a point where the mindset's starting to shift. But I think a lot of teams, especially like when I was a junior and senior would just discount us because we're Army, we're not a great football team or whatever. And then we came in there like, we know we're good and we're confident, and all we're here to do is play football and take some people's heads off. And that's the way we approach it, and that's the way we played. And then suddenly people start realizing, they're like, oh, these guys actually play football. They're not bad at it. No, that game in particular, we were just. I think all of us. I mean, we had a good season that year, right?
Yeah.
Did we win 11 games?
Yep.
And so we're going into that game with 10 wins, two losses that we could have very easily won, and we shot ourselves in the foot there. But that was kind of our last shot to make a legacy for that year group. And I think all of us had that mindset going in there of just let's go play ball. No, like holding nothing back, basically.
Yeah.
And especially when we get Houston was a good team that year. I think that's the year they had Derek King as quarterback, and he tore his ACL, so he didn't play most of the year. But they had Ed Oliver on that team. He's good.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, they had a really good team, and he sat out in the bowl game, but whatever, his choice. But we came in there and we're like, we got a shot to beat a good team. Like, let's do it. And yeah, I think from the first quarter of just smacking them in the mouth repeatedly, they kind of cowered down, I guess, for the rest of the game.
Is that a game where you're kind of just? I hate to the zone. Were you in a zone? Were you just on another level in that game, or no?
I mean, I don't like to think that I did anything differently in preparation, but I think what was it? Bateman had left after the Army Navy game, and Coach Luce was our D coordinator for that game.
Yep.
And I mean, his mindset was just like, let the boys play. Bateman calls a lot of blitzes. Like when he coached us, he blitzed a lot. When Coach Luce took over, he blitzed even more, which was absurd. And obviously, I'm being a middle linebacker, I was involved in a lot of blitzes, so I loved it. I was thriving, and he just kept calling blitz after blitz, and I was like, let's do it. I was never questioning it. So I think it was just a lot of pent up testosterone in the boys, and Coach Luce let it all free by letting us just go smack some people.
And I know you had a lot of there's a lot of good memories in your Army football career on the field. I mean, that bowl game's a great way to end your career, right? Is there one or two that you kind of just memories that you still think about a lot? That you, whether it was what you did on the field or what the team did on the field?
I mean, all the Army Navy games stick out for sure. Those were just every one of those. We lost the first one and we almost won it. That was tough. And then, the next three we won were phenomenal. And then I think the one that sticks out to me the most, other than that Armed Forces game, was the game that we skunked Air Force at Air Force.
Oh yeah,
that was. I mean, defense never really gets a lot of recognition, and obviously, why would they? Because it's fun to watch offense score touchdowns. And that was kind of our shot where we made a statement of our defense of just, holding Air Force to 0 for the first time in what was it, 100 years or something? I don't even know.
Forever.
It was forever. And so that felt good, especially to do it at home. And now that I'm out in Colorado Springs and I have some affiliations with people in the Air Force. And so I get to use that as leverage and talk trash whenever I can, which is a blast.
How ironic is that, right? That you're able to do. I mean, of all the places where you are right now, you're in Colorado Springs, and I'm not going to even ask you if you ever think about going to an Air Force football game, right? So,
no, not unless they're playing Army.
Exactly.
I was excited for this year, and then they moved it to Texas. So
yeah, and one more year in Texas, and if things go the way it went this year for Army with them, I guess you'll keep that game can stay in Texas next year.
Yeah,
I guess
as long as we keep winning, that's fine. No, but it's fun. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm really appreciating being like an old grad football player, I guess. I don't know, I shook hands with some Air Force general a couple months ago at this Veterans Day dinner thing, and it was like the week, not even the week after the Army Air Force game. And that was just the first thing I said to him was, how about that game last weekend? And he just rolls his eyes. He's like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, I'm taking any chance I can get here. So, I love
him
that
not knowing that
it.
Yeah, him not knowing that you played in the game or no?
Well, he did. Yeah, my managing partner is he's a '96 grad, Kevin Caven, and he introduced me to him. And James played football Army, blah blah blah. And so I just shook his hand. I was just like, how about that game last weekend? He got a kick out of it. But I love that stuff and taking any chance. And actually, the guy whose house I'm at right now, Scott Richardson, he was our version of Nick Detterman for Air Force for a while.
Okay.
And him and I now work at the same company, and we're good friends. But he's not an Air Force grad or anything. But we watched the Army Air Force game at his house, and
Nice.
he's just one of those people that's a blast to talk trash to, and especially because Army keeps winning, so I get to.
No doubt. Here's Chuck Phillips. He enjoyed watching you play. You were everything a linebacker should be: tough, smart, and aggressive. James.
Appreciate that, Chuck. Those are good words. I like those adjectives. I try to play like that. You got to be smart, obviously. That's the most important thing in football. But I think next in line is definitely be as aggressive as you can be, and just presents opportunities. So, thanks.
We
Chuck.
have a question. Yeah, we have a question from Ken Harms. What makes Monken successful in your mind? What?
I think, there's a million variables for sure. The biggest thing to me is he's just determined to be. He doesn't accept mediocrity in any aspect of football, whether that's coaches, whether that's the players playing practice, how we dress, how we come, come and correct when we come to talk to him, things like that. He doesn't tolerate any BS, and he's very, very blunt about it with us, and it's rightfully so, because there's a lot more to football than just being athletic and being a good player. There's a million variables, like I said, but I think the biggest thing is Monken holds us accountable to just be better people. In a lot of aspects of life, which obviously ends up translating on the football field.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've always enjoyed from him, was he was just a great coach. And he was tough on us, but he loved it. And the guy loves to win more than anybody I've ever met. So,
Everything, yeah. I look at the one locker room. It's his famous locker room, I'm going to fight. That was after one of your wins. And I remember you being kind of right in the front there during that.
Yep.
What was that experience? That to be in a locker room like that, right? I mean, there's probably no locker room like that in the nation after a win like that.
I do. I wonder, like what other schools' locker rooms are like, because that's just something you never get to know. But yeah, I can't remember when he adopted that, the I'm gonna fight thing. I think it was like our sophomore year. It had something to do with the black flag, and he found a plaque, or somebody sent him a plaque that had that phrase written on it. But no, our locker room after wins was a phenomenal experience every single time. That's when I say, like, Coach Monken loves to win. The guy loves to win, and when he wins, he is fired up.
When I see him like lift up I guess last year he lifted up the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Now people think that's an easy task, James. I don't know. I mean, I forget how much that weighs. I mean,
that thing's heavy,
right?
That thing's heavy. That's Coach Monken comes in the weight room. He comes in there and he does his face pulls and a bunch of, I don't know, Coach Monken workouts, but the guy's got muscle. He can lift stuff. It's an impressive feat.
Yeah, I look at that, and I remember, I guess maybe it was your junior year, maybe not. When he used to come into the locker room every time you won, and he'd add, like, if you had 4 wins, he put up 4 wins and five fingers, right? I mean, and I guess it just was kind of a way to get the team together, and it works, right? It's been working at West Point, so I mean, I guess when you can't help but like want to play for a guy like that, right? I'm guessing, or no?
Yeah. I think when you see somebody get so passionate about winning like that, I mean, you have to be, like, if you're on the team, you have to be that passionate too. It's a contagious thing. It's like catching coronavirus. You're gonna get it if you're in the room, right? It's
right now, yeah.
Right now, yeah. No, but it's contagious, and he's just so passionate about winning, which is, again, why he's so hard on us to be better than we were yesterday. And it works, as you can see. Obviously, he's turned the program around for however many years now, and so far so good, right?
Yeah. We were talking before we got on the podcast about our co-host Steve Anderson's not here tonight, but you kind of just like meeting him kind of out of nowhere 6 months ago in Colorado Springs, and that's because you guys remind me. I've known Steve for a while, and just covering you, kind of were the same type of had the same type of mindset and played kind of the same way, like full speed all the time. Mm-hmm. And so talk to us a little bit about how that happened and what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just ran into him there's this place called View House, and it's like a sports bar grill type thing. I don't know. They have like 10,000 TVs basically, and so you just go there, and one of them's like 100 inches or something. You just watch football and drink beer, as you should. And that's, I think, what Steve was doing there, and I think that's what I was doing there. And it was like as I was walking out, and I don't know what shirt I had on. Obviously, 90% of my apparel is just Army football stuff. and as is his. And so he's got an Army football shirt on. And he just looks over from like across the parking lot. He's like, "Did you play football, Army?" I was like, "Yeah." "Did you play football at Army?" He's like, "Yeah." And we just shook hands, talked for a few minutes. He had his wife and kids, so he had to get to scooting. But yeah, and then I talked to him for a little bit, and then I didn't get his number to talk to him or anything afterwards. But we ended up connecting over the podcast, obviously, and yeah, now just texting him. I'm like, hey, he's probably a guy I can get along with pretty well. Like we're very similar in nature.
Yeah, one of these days we'll get you guys on together, and you guys can talk Army. You can talk beer. You can talk Army football. You can talk whatever you guys want to talk about for a little bit.
Hell yeah.
You could. I don't know. Just random encounters with Air Force grads. I don't know.
Yeah. He's probably had a good amount if he's out here. That's
no doubt. Hey, we got a question. We got one more question here, and you kind of answered this before, but maybe you want to entertain Bay Night 20's question about what made you choose USMA when you were being recruited.
Yeah, I mean, like many things in life, there's a lot of variables in play, but I mean, the biggest thing was just when I came to the school to visit. When I went to West Point they played Western Kentucky that week. It was like 2014 or something. But yeah, I went out for the game, and I mean, when you come out to West Point, if you've been there before, like there's an aura around it. Like when you walk through the gates, and it's something special. It's a special place, and then you do that, you get all the feel goods and whatnot, and you realize the history behind it and how crazy you think about all the people that have walked in your shoes and done that stuff. And to me, I think that was a really special thing. That and phenomenal program when it comes to football, right? Phenomenal program when it comes to pushing out lieutenants. It's very hard to pass up when you're given that opportunity, I think. And I think that's why a lot of guys end up there. And can't say I'd ever want to do it again, but I'm glad I did it. Right. I think that's kind of most people's mindset. You don't ever want to go through that again, but yeah, in hindsight, I'm very happy with choosing West Point over any other option.
Hey, what I was thinking to close out this podcast? I was thinking about sometimes I ask you, you might have got annoyed. Sometimes I remember asking you more than multiple times what you listen to in like the pregame before the game, right? And I know you're a big metal guy, right?
You don't want to hear the stuff I listen to. I don't think anybody does.
You're still a metal guy, but right?
Oh, through and through. That's if I'm not listening to a podcast, I listen to metalcore, deathcore, anything. Lorna Shore, Chelsea Grin, We Came as Romans, Parkway Drive, August Burns Red. I can go on and on. Yeah, I through and through. That was. I mean, since middle school, I listened to that stuff before I wrestled, before I played football, and that's all I've listened to for the last 15 years of my life. I don't know, honestly. I think it's just because like my personality wise, like I just love to get intense and like get adrenaline flowing, and especially when it came to, obviously like you could just, whether it's high school football or college football, like you're going to be hyped up before you go play a game. But when I would put that music on and breakdowns would hit, I don't know, my blood started flowing differently, and I just was ready to just take some heads off, and it worked, and I kept doing it, and I kept listening to it, and then now, I obviously don't play football anymore, but I wake up in the morning, I turn it on, and it gets me ready to go for the day. And that's just, I can't help it. It's just too good. I don't know what it is.
Hey, a teammate, what teammates maybe pregame music might surprise you that you played with? A guy that you said, no way that he's listening to this or, likes this type of music, but. I feel like everybody just wants to listen to rap before they play or when they're in the weight room or anything. It was almost like everybody was in accordance with that. I'm trying to think. I don't know if you remember Sam Johnson. He played linebacker I know the name.
for a couple years, and then he switched out and started playing. Or it's not started playing. Sorry, he joined the weightlifting team, or powerlifting team. And he was a good friend of mine from prep school on, and still is. But he was backwoods, Sarasota, Florida, and just bumped George Strait like country anytime we were in the weight room, anytime we were doing anything. And like him, I and Cole and Chandler, we all lifted together a bunch in prep school. Because the benefit of prep school is the weight room's like in the same building, which is awesome. Yeah. And so whenever we had nothing to do on the weekends, which was pretty frequent, we'd go lift weights, and one of us would pick the music every time. And Sam would always just bump country. And honestly, some of the best workouts I've had was just going nuts to some backwoods country music.
Wow.
So I think that's probably my most surprising.
Nice.
Should have been to be expected, but
we got one more question for you, James, before we go. This says maybe winter at West Point can be tough. What did you do to keep your spirit up?
What did I do in the winters? Just lock myself in my room and watch Netflix or something, probably. No, I had my roommate every semester at West Point but one, Seth Jackson. We always entertained ourselves somehow. We were very, 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 very good friends and still are. We were just very good at keeping ourselves occupied when we had nothing to do. Played a lot of video games, played a lot of skate too. That was our, obviously wintertime West Point is like, the gray period. Everybody's depressed, everybody's sad, right? And then you go through school and you get even more depressed and sad. And so we'd always just play skate too and just relax, because it was like the most therapeutic game of, there's no pressure. It doesn't make your blood boil or anything. You just get on there and play around on a skateboard. That was a big one for us. We'd turn on the PS3 and get after that. But yeah, just friends. I think friends are the biggest thing. Like I think I mentioned that at the beginning was, one of the greatest things about West Point is the people you meet. And there's just so many good people there that anytime you're in that gray period, you can rely on them to boost morale a little bit. So that was our go-to, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing like I remember being out in it might have been before Navy week, and it's like snowing out, and you guys are practicing. How many practices did you go through where the conditions weren't like you're not down south or anything?
Yeah. Well, that's Matt drills in a nutshell, because Matt drills is what, February or March, I think. Yeah, it's March because it's a week before spring break. And that's when we wake up at, dark 30, hop on the practice field and do drills until we puke, and then go to class, do that day, and then do it all over again the next day. But yeah, that was every morning of Matt drills. It's ice cold outside. There's snow on the ground, and it's just not a good time.
Those were never moved inside of the Foley, huh? Ever or no?
Yeah, sometimes they legally had to.
Okay.
Not by choice, but by NCAA rules. If the wind chill was a certain temperature or something, we had to go in Foley. But honestly, going into Foley was worse than being outside, because it just becomes a steam room, and you're not even like breathing air anymore. You're just breathing other people's air, and it's disgusting. And so we'd always wish that the cold sucks and everything, but it was most of the time better not being in Foley.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're right in the middle of NFL playoffs, right? It was a big Sunday for the playoffs. We saw Dallas go down, and now, you're being a Packers fan, I'm sure you have them going back to the Super Bowl and winning it all, right?
Of course. We're enjoying a nice restful bye week, watching the playoffs from our comfort of our own homes, getting Aaron Rodgers rested up to get after it for the rest of the playoffs. So, yeah, go Pack, go. They're going to the Super Bowl.
I think you're going to play.
Cole Masick says.
Yeah, I think you're going to play the Bengals in the Super Bowl, maybe.
That'd be a fun one. I like Joey Burrow. I can't knock that guy. I think he's a phenomenal football player, and I love watching him play. So I would be happy to play the Bengals in the Super Bowl, but we have to win. Sorry.
One more before we go off. The best player you ever played against at Army, is it Kyler Murray or no?
The best player I ever played against?
Yeah.
Probably Kyler Murray. He was a different animal. He's a guy that you just pray to God that you're never spaced 5 yards apart from when you're about to make contact, because he'll make you miss. He was the quickest movements I've ever seen out of any player, I think. I mean, the change in direction, change of speed, like hands down, just unbelievable. Why I say you just pray to God that you're never in space with him, because that's an uphill battle.
I can't imagine you replay your sack of him too often, right? You don't find the YouTube of that too often, do you?
No, I'm not. I don't enjoy looking at myself in the mirror that much. I get some people bring it up now and then, but that's definitely a good memory to have.
No doubt. Well, hey, we really appreciate you jumping on tonight, catching up with you. Like I said, when we can get you and Steve Anderson on, that'll be a lot of fun. And guys, if you're watching this, check out our YouTube channel. Check out us on all the podcast platforms, and also BlackKnightNation.com. James, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Sal.